Hello everyone. Today I wanted to make another video and I will be talking to you about my first impressions of Heart of the Swarm. The beta came out, I think, last night. Not sure whether it was out last evening, but anyway, I've been playing since the morning, played about 20 games or so. And yes, the first thing when you start a game is that if you have the option enabled, your workers split automatically. That means your workers immediately start mining. They immediately go mining without you doing anything, and you can just, build your first drone and send your overlord to scout. Personally, I don't know. I mean, it's not a big change or anything. I kind of like it, to be honest, because sometimes when there's laggy observers or so in the game, and you have finished loading and your opponent also, then sometimes you are waiting there like 30 seconds for the game to start any moment, but some observer with a not so good computer is loading still, and you don't know when will be done, so you are like super focused, and it's a bit annoying that you don't exactly know when the game starts. And so I think I mean, it's a pretty minor change, but I don't really mind it. I know people will be complaining about it, but I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, it doesn't make a big difference. Uh, Other than that, I mean, there's like some interface changes. For example, you can turn on an option that if you select one larva of a hatchery, you automatically select all. I personally turned that off because I like to select the larva that is closest to the minerals when I build drones. And if you have that option turned on, you can't select a single larva anymore at the beginning because you always select all of them. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I can see some people using that, don't really get it. It's not something that is a problem for me because, well, if I don't like it, I just don't have to use it. But so far, I don't really see the point because I always spam 5 SD anyway. 5 are the hatcheries and SD is drones, obviously. But let's get to the more interesting part, the new units. First unit that you will most likely get is the swarm host, and should be showing you this quickly. Let's see whether we get this working. Here, I just made a custom game without an opponent, and here is the swarm host. It has 120 hit points, 1 base armor, and if you burrow it, I mean, most of you know this unit already. I just want to show you quickly. You can set rally points for the. So if you can put rally points for the swarm host, that means if you spawn your locusts, they will go to the rally point. It's a fairly strong ground unit. They have 16 damage, 3 range, and they always spawn in pairs of 2. And I think the cooldown on the spawn is 20 seconds, I think. They have rather few hit points, 65, so they die rather easily to tank on Colossus fire, but I think it's fairly decent. Then there's an upgrade in the infestation pit that increases the duration of the locusts by 10 seconds, as in they live 10 seconds longer, because they are like bit like infested terrans, like they are timed, and they just disappear after a while. So far the swarm host, I think it's actually it's something accessible. Like a general problem with the new Zerg changes is that they are not all too accessible. And the swarm host, you only need the infestation pit. You don't need any further upgrade. So it's something that you can use. For example, ZVP. Imagine your opponent takes a third base. With gateway units and immortals, and I think for example that's a situation where I could definitely see the swarm host being used to pressure, or maybe even to defend against like a late 2-base immortal gateway push. In that case, it would be very good because you can use the locust to draw out force fields, and then once he is low on force field energy, you could kill his army. Like the late immortal pushes are from 2-base. Are, in my opinion, actually a bit of a problem for Zerg right now, because it can get very tricky, and it like often turns into some weird base trade, or you just get owned by immortals and force fields. But yes, overall, ZVP, I definitely see some uses for the swarm host. ZVZ, I think it's very strong. I'm not sure how the whether you will still open mutas all the time. To me, right now, it seems very good to open muta, just like you do in Wings of Liberty. You open muta, build like 6-8 mutas, and then you immediately switch to swarm hosts. You just build an infestation pit, and I'm not sure whether you actually need a roach warren with it. Like earlier, I had a game where I just built mutas, 8 mutas, lings, and then I built swarm hosts. And with the mutas, first you force your opponent to get anti-air, so he needs to get hydras or infestors, and so that means that he can't build swarm hosts himself. And then you can you also remove the overlords from the map, assuming your opponent didn't go mutas, of course. Then it gets a bit tricky. But anyway, you remove the overlords from the map, and then you can build swarm hosts. And the big problem for swarm hosts is generally in ZVZ, in my opinion, is that they are so easy to see. Like they have to move. I can show you in game. You can't move unburrowed, so you have to move. The thing moves rather slowly, and then you have to burrow again. Like if there's overlords everywhere on the map, your opponent will just see the swarm hosts coming, and he can prepare accordingly, position his units, etc. But if you started the game with mutas, you remove all the overlords, and then actually your opponent has a lot less time to react to the swarm hosts. And I think that's why muta into swarm host might be pretty good. And later on you will also be adding infestors, because obviously the combination of like having like summoned units that cost nothing, plus fungal, which holds your opponent like in place and prevents them from running away or rushing towards the swarm host, that's really good. For example, like the big problem with swarm host is that if your opponent has many roaches and he just rushes towards them and just kills them off quickly, well, then you have a problem. But if you have some infestors with it and some tanking units, like maybe lings, maybe roaches, but the thing is, roaches also cost gas, and if you're building swarm hosts and want some infestors also, you might run into problems with gas, because the swarm host upgrade costs 200, and infestor upgrade not cheap either. So maybe we will actually see lings and swarm hosts and maybe some infestors with it, because you don't really have the gas to also get the roaches. So yes, ZVZ definitely see the swarm host being viable, but of course I've only played a couple of games. Maybe roach infestor ends up still being better, I don't know, but right now it seems pretty good, and I definitely think it will be used. Against Terran, well, I don't know. I mean, the really big problem with Terran armies, like bio armies, and like to an extent, I mean, mech armies are actually fast enough. Like the thing is, Terran armies are rather mobile. Like if they have bio, they just run away from the swarm host if they meet him in open field. And attacking against the Terran, I mean, that hasn't worked so well in Wings of Liberty, because siege tanks are pretty good and swarm hosts are slow. They don't shoot, the spawns don't shoot air, and well, tanks kill the spawns pretty fast, I think. I haven't tried it yet, because usually I just die to whatever from Terran, and I don't get to ever attack with swarm hosts. But I don't really see it being that good. It might be good like as a harassment thing, but if Terrans still open a lot with banshees, you will have the problem. Like you have to pick, like, how do you deal with the banshees? So you can go mutas, you can go infestors. If you go infestor, it basically means you're not going to attack, because infestor, well, like you can't really attack with infestors against banshees that are on the map, because the banshees cost, like, you need way too much energy to kill off the banshees. I don't know how much energy you need, like probably like 300 energy to kill one banshee, and so you would use up all your energy on like 2 banshees. And so if you want to put your gas into swarm host, well, then you don't have an anti-air to start with, so you would kinda rely on queens, but queens don't really attack, and well, the swarm hosts, you somehow need to protect them against banshees when they want to go over the map. And purely defensive, I think infestors are probably better, or you just go Ling Baneling or something like that. So yes, against Terran I think Swarmhost has rather limited use. One thing I can already see them being nice at is to defend against drops, because if you just burrow them in your mineral line, and you always have a couple, like in the late game that is, or late mid game, if you always have a couple of those spawns standing around in your base, and the drop comes, well, it's actually really nice, because to kill the swarm host, your opponent has to scan, and well, the spawns do a lot of damage. Well, and that's kind of what you want against the drop. You want to kill the stuff that is coming out very quickly. And well, add to that like a spore crawler too. It might actually be good drop defense, because it's not so easy to kill it off. The Terran always has to use a scan, and he might not have one available, or he might not want to use a scan that often. But yeah, in general, against Terran I don't see that many uses. Next unit is the Viper. Sorry for not building some already. I had to quickly. I will show you the unit in a moment. But basically, the Viper is a flying spellcaster, which has 3 abilities. The first one is Consume. You can leech hit points from one of your own buildings, and I will be showing you. You can leech hit points from one of your own buildings. Here, Consume. It leeches 200 life, and the 200 life get converted into 50 energy. You see the Viper, it takes away the hatchery's hit points. You have to be a bit careful. Like, first time I had them, I just clicked 3 times on my extractor, and suddenly my extractors were dead. Because turns out extractors only have 500 hit points. I didn't know that, to be honest, because that never matters basically. Anyway, you can quickly, like immediately after spawning, I guess you will just leech from your gases or your hatchery, probably, or like stuff like a roach warren or so, if you have one. And then you have Abduct, which pulls a unit close to you. Looks kind of funny, and well, that's all it does basically. Range is not super big, but decent. And the last thing is Blinding Cloud. Creates a cloud for 10 seconds that reduces attack range of biological units. Kinda important. It's only biological units. Under it to melee range. I had one game where, like against a total newbie, where I actually hit his whole marine, all his marines with Blinding Cloud, and then funkled them. And so they couldn't move out. Like, they had 0 range, they only had melee range, and they were funkled, so they couldn't move. That was kind of funny. I think I can see some usage with that. For example, well, talking about the Terran ZVT matchup right now, if you go Mutaling Baneling, for example, you could you want to go Hive Tech for the upgrades. And then you could get the Vipers, because the Vipers only need Hive, nothing else. You could get Vipers to use Blinding Cloud against Marines, and to pull out tanks, because if you remember, the Vipers are flying units, so the tanks can't shoot them. It took me a moment to realize that when I was first thinking about it. And the Blinding Cloud is, well, pretty good against Marines, because, well, they stop shooting. They just, well, I guess they shoot in melee range. I don't know how it looks exactly. They died too quickly when I used it. And so you can use, well, that actually works as intended by Blizzard. You can use a mobile army like Mutaling Baneling, even on Hive Tech. I guess you will need good upgrades for it. But with the Vipers, you can pull out key units like the siege tanks, maybe Tors, and kill them and then retreat, or pull them out, kill them, and then kill the rest of his army. The Blinding Cloud helps against like the big marine balls, because later in the game you really have a lot of problems if you're fighting off creep and there's a lot of marine tank and some Taurus added. It's very hard to kill it with a tier 2 army. You pretty much need Broodlord Infestor for that in most cases, or at least Infestors. Hard to say, but anyway, I think the Viper is a nice addition. In a like in an actual game, I never got to really use it because, well, Hive Tech. Yes, well, I didn't get to Hive Tech, So I can't really tell you any real examples of like an actual game against a decent player. I think against Protoss, probably you will build like 3-4 Vipers. For example, let's look at current Wings of Liberty gameplay. ZVP, Zerg dies before Broodlords or doesn't. Like, that's kind of what it boils down to. You often go, you start no gas 3 base, Protoss gets a 3rd, you get a 4th base, you get 100 drones, you go hive tech, infestors, and you build super many spines, and then you hope you don't die to the Colossus, Stalker, whatever push. And in those cases, if you, once you arrive to hive, you build like just a couple of Vipers, you could use those to pull out key units like Immortals or Colossus when this push comes, which then again means that maybe Protoss can't go for that push anymore, but actually has to aim for a late game in that situation. But of course, I don't know exactly how all that will play out. Maybe the CVP will play completely different. Like, Protoss can't take a 3rd anymore because if he does, swarm hosts come and kill him, or the Oracle thing. Yeah, the Oracles actually seem quite annoying. I haven't played Protoss myself yet, but they like just block all your mineral patches, and if you don't have units there, they are blocked for the whole duration, which I don't know how long it was. But yes, I played against Kara, and he just blocked my mineral patches, all of them, a couple of times. I still ended up winning with like Swarm Host, Hydra, Roach when he took a 3rd base. But yes, I think the Viper is I think that's actually the unit I like the best so far, because I really can see uses in all matchups, and it just seems to fit with Zerg. It's relatively fast. I can show you quickly. You see it moves decently fast, so it's not like slow as fuck. Gonna quickly show you. This is the animation of the blinding cloud. It's not super big, but it's okay. Maybe they will make some changes, make it a bit bigger. Who knows? But not that important, I guess. The next thing is the Ultralisk charge. I personally, I'm not that big of a fan of it. First of all, there's no autocast for it. I can see why they did that, but like when you are engaging, especially with melee units, it's super, like, it feels a bit clunky to cast the charge. I don't know, like, it's like, how would you, like, if you have zealots, how would you use charge, like, manually? Like, you click on like single marines or something. I mean, you don't have as many ultralisks as you have zealots, so it's better, but still not that big of a fan of it. I think they maybe they did it by now. Admittedly, I've not tried it. And biggest problem, in my opinion, it costs 200, takes 130 seconds to research, and well, it's a research. Like, the thing is, you have chitinous plating, which gives you +2 armor, which is very important, which takes 110 seconds, and then you have the burrow charge, which takes 130 seconds, and well, also isn't that cheap. And yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing is, you often ultralisks, the matchup you get them in is basically against Terran. ZVZ, there are some uses for ultralisks. Not sure whether we will still see them, because swarm hosts will change CVC quite a lot, in my opinion, and ultralisks might not be good anymore. But ZVT, one of the main reasons you get ultralisks is because the ultralisk cavern doesn't build that long, and ultras don't build that long, and oftentimes you are really under time pressure to quickly get out hive units before Terran kills you. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes you don't go Broodlords. Other than, like, also of course Broodlords are not so mobile, and that's another story. But then, like, ultras are simply available earlier. But the fact that the burrow charge takes 130 seconds to research, which is longer than a Greater Spire morphs, yeah, I don't know. That it just has like a bit of a bitter taste to me. I'm a bit skeptic about that, but I might be wrong. Maybe, like, if it's a longer game, it's nice to have it, and it makes ultras better against like Marine Marauder tank, where they can run into trouble. Like against a very big Marauder ball, you really have have problems like catching it because infestors are not so fast. But anyway, like, I don't know. I mean, it's something that is available very late in the game. You have to go Hive, you have to get the Ultralisk Cavern, and you have to do a research. So I haven't had a game where I could apply that, because I'm not trying to just like force games into me trying the new units. I want to actually have a sensible game and use the new units like in a way that it makes sense that I built them, and not just that I built them like TLO style, you know. And that's why, yeah, I don't know, like my games just never came into a situation. But I only played 20 games, so like take that with a grain of salt. I might very well be wrong, and it's like the best thing ever. And yeah. Then there's the Hydra speed upgrade. Like personally, I think that's like the worst thing they gave Zerg. I mean, not that it's bad to have a speed upgrade for Hydralisks, but look at that. First off, it takes 100 seconds to research. It costs 150. Okay, that doesn't matter so much. But the big problem is it's Hive. It's a Hive upgrade. Now let's think about it. Like, when do you use Hydralisks? Let's look at Wings of Liberty, because they didn't get a buff otherwise, from what I know. We use Hydras, ZVZ sometimes, because they have more range than infestors. Than roaches. So you have like 2 roaches, then then Hydras, and behind that the infestors. Does CVC in those games get to Hive tech often? Not that often. No, not really. Because usually the game is decided on lair tech. And if you go Hive tech and then research an upgrade that takes super long just to make your Hydras a bit faster off creep, I mean, it's nice, but it's just very late. Now let's think about ZVP. Do we use Hydras there? No. No, we don't use Hydras, because they are slow and Colossus own them really hard. I mean, there are some cases where we use them, like Antigua Shipyard, your opponent opens Stargate and then tries to take a 3rd base. You can like sometimes just kill him with Roach Hydra, but generally Hydras are not that good against Protoss. And now let's think about it. Now the better thing, like what this speed upgrade makes better, is that the Hydras are better at attacking, basically, and they are more mobile. But you need Hive tech, and you need to research the upgrade. So that adds like 4 minutes, and an like you think about it. You arrive at lair tech. From there on, it takes like 5 minutes in-game time to get to Hydralisk speed. But in those 5 minutes, your opponent has like 3 Colossus with range, and he will laugh when you are coming like with your speedy Hydralisks over the map, in my opinion, because that's just crap. Like I just don't get it. The thing is, Hydralisks, they have like a time window in the game where they are useful, and that's before your opponent has like a shitload of AoE damage and just, well, is very happy about you having some Hydras, which are wasted supply. And so yes, I don't know. I don't really like it. Against Terran, they were never very good. And once you are Hive tech and you research a quite long upgrade, you might as well just get Ultralisks or Broodlords and not bother attacking with Hydras against like 10 siege tanks, because I don't think that will end very well. And let's not talk about the new Battle Hellion and all that stuff. I don't know. Like, yeah. So I think the Hydralisk upgrade, they need to think about that again, because it just comes too late in the game, and it comes at a time where Hydralisks don't really have many uses anymore, in my opinion. Okay, I think that's it for the units. One last thing I wanted to show you is this new concept they have in the maps, which are like collapsible rock towers. You see, when I mouse over the rocks, it shows like rocks below the rocks, like as in when there's a building. What the collapsible rock tower does is, if you kill it, it only has 500 hit points. That's fairly important. If you kill it, it collapses, and at the place where the collapsible rock tower was, you still have terrain that is not passable. Like you can't move there or built there. And at the place where the rocks collapse, there is then a destructible rock with the standard 2k hit points and 3 armor. So what this means is that you can, if you have map control on this map, it's the map is called Core Hull City, not a very good map in my opinion. Anyway, you see the rocks collapse, and then here here you can't go here anymore, and now you have well, basically the normal destructible debris with 3 armor, which takes like ages to kill. So what you can do on this map is you kill your opponent's rocks to block his third base here, because the other third base also has rocks. Great, I love that. Also, this base has a backdoor expansion, so basically Protoss players are happy. And there's this shenanigans over here. And another use, let me show you that here, it's closer. Another thing you can do is, I haven't tried that before, I just heard of it. You can, if your opponent builds his expansion at this spot here before you kill the rocks, you can kill the rocks to damage the expansion. Now I want to try that, whether it actually works. I just heard that. So you see, you can build an expansion here actually, thank God, otherwise we would have another Tal'Darim altar. Where Zerg can take a third base early on. So we built a hatchery here, and now remember 500 hit points is not that much. So now we kill the collapsible rock tower, and let's see what happens. Okay, yeah, it actually did kill my hatchery. So yes, so you have to be very careful if you take this base while there's still the collapsible rocks next to it, because if your opponent kills them, well, your base might as well just die. I'm not sure what happens if the hatchery has full hit points. I heard it only does like only 750 damage or something like that. Anyway, this thing it's a bit weird. So far, like, I don't know, I think it's fairly interesting, and we will see how it goes. There's also another map, I forgot the name, where you have basically at your natural you have one of those rocks, and you can kill it to wall off your natural with rocks, like to wall yourself in. And that's fairly interesting, because you can, on one hand, I mean, it only has, remember, it's only 500 hit points. You can use it to wall yourself in against an all-in, but the problem is, if you bring down the hit points of the rocks early on, your opponent can also kill the rocks to wall yourself in, and, like, well, deny your access to the rest of the map. And yeah, I think that could be fairly interesting. I don't know how it will work out. We will see. Yeah, that's it for today. Tomorrow I will play more, and maybe I will actually find out how great speed Hydra lists are. Not. But yes. I hope you like this. Please leave a comment whether you like my opinion. Well, you can also leave a comment if you don't like it. But don't hate too much, please. Anyway, I'm tired, and I pretty much said all the interesting things I could say. So, see you tomorrow. Goodbye.